The ABN Champ Car World Series will take a trip to Tornado Alley for 300 kilometers of fast-paced intermediate racing. Welcome back to ABN Esports on this Wednesday night. It's the Kansas Speedway that plays host for a 124-lap main feature. Welcome to the Kansas 300 as the championship chase continues. It's now a two-horse race with 4 minutes and 20 seconds remaining on our practice charts. I'm David Kreutz, today joined by Olivia, Hayward, and Taylor Mills, and as we get things moving here, just a few moments away from our qualifying session, 21 drivers registered for tonight's race, with more still to come. Bobby Blowers, fastest on timing charts so far. So we're looking at every driver get back into the grips of this mile-and-a-half circuit, and now we're down to the final few races on the campaign. Very little room for error now for those who are fighting in the championship race, and the points battle just about as intense as it's been all throughout the season here. We're coming down to the final leg of Season 5, and we're looking forward to, of course, what's next to come. After a thrilling race at Fontana, we're back to a slightly smaller oval. How are we feeling now as we take it back to the mile-and-a-halves, and this time it's Kansas in particular?
Yeah, it's another very interesting racetrack laying out in front of us tonight for the Kansas 300. We're going to see a very similar style of racing that we did last week. Lots of progressive banking here at Kansas Speedway, which is my absolute favourite. Hopefully we're going to see lots of guys ripping the top right up against that wall here tonight. But with the high 17 to 20 degree banking we have here at the Speedway, it does mean people are going to be able to run that line and be at an advantage. If you can carry that speed around the top, you're going to have so much momentum compared to the cars on the low side, and it's going to make it really, really easy to try and set up a pass down the back straight. Beside that, though, we have some really, really hot track temps again, 47 degrees Celsius on track. So it's holding that inside line and carrying the speed is going to be just as tricky as it was at Auto Club.
Yeah, obviously, this track with even tighter quarter radiuses, being 1.5 miles compared to the 2 miles that was on show at Fontana. So it's you're not gonna be able to hold that white line. It's gonna be very much drivers trying to arch the corner on entry, and that's gonna make it kind of tricky because we're gonna see a lot of drivers up near the wall on entry, and then they're gonna have to fan out and determine what line they're going to take through the middle of the corner to carry the speed, whether they want to try and cut down to the white line and really sort of traditionally apex the corner, or whether they want to try and rip up top. And the key thing is they're going to have to be in sync with each other, because if, as the trailing car, you accidentally pick the same line as the car ahead, you're going to feel the massive effect of the aero wash. You're going to have nowhere on the wing to grip the car through the corner, and you're going to just wash out, trap the throttle, and you'll lose so much speed. So we're going to have to see how these drivers adapt to that, and which drivers can sort of play that dance most effectively to move through the field.
Right now, drivers taking those final practice laps in anticipation of our main feature here, and a lot of very quick times. One driver under the 25-second marker, Bobby Blowers, but don't think that's really going to be the case for the rest of the day. Back for an oval swing, we saw Long Beach most recently as a street circuit, then a much bigger oval in Auto Club. Look at these drivers right now. It's going to be a little bit more of a condensed style of racing, but still expecting that multi-groove to come into play. 124 laps, so as we previously mentioned, just about 300 kilometers. Fuel, it's going to play once again a big part of the strategy equation, and it looks like right now, looking at Christina Ryan, one of the many on the circuit. Mo Perry right now in 9th. And tonight, we do have one brand new driver to the season. That's going to be Martin Roberg in the number 41. And everyone else returning for at least their second start. Roberg making his very first appearance in the campaign. Emily Howe right now, we're going to be the number 83 in 4th on the charts. Austin Farr, notably not here to this point, so maybe this is going to be a race that proves pivotal in the championship, as drop weeks are due to be applied very soon for our championship rivals. Howe ends up wrecked. Bobby Blowers is quickest in practice, and now time to move on to your qualifying session.
So the start then of 10 minutes of qualifying here at Kansas Speedway. The ever difficult to follow qualifying in these series. All cars going out at the same time, roughly on track, but they aren't going to be able to see each other. Single car qualifying, 4 laps to try and get a lap down and just do the best you can without any disturbances from anyone else. As always, we're going to see a couple of different strategies in qualifying tonight. We may see a couple of our drivers doing 2 runs to make sure that they have some nice fresh tyres for a second push lap. We're going to see folks going out early, getting their laps down when they can, or as soon as they can, so they don't have to worry about it. And then we're going to have the drivers that like to leave it a little bit late. We know how important engine temperature is to set decent lap times at tracks that are pretty much flat out and left. So expect to see the likes of Hamilton Akabuzi, who we've seen do it before, sit in that pit lane just a little bit longer to heat soak the engine a little bit and get those few extra horsepower to push him along in qualifying tonight.
Coming across the line, Parker Alexander going to go provisional pole, but immediately beaten there by Emily Howe. So times are coming in. Mo Perry, Alex Miller quick as well. Looks like for the drivers who got out slightly later, maybe a little bit faster. Miller, though, with the clear quick time right now by about 1/4 of a second. So looks like for Alex, at least getting a few spots up with a little bit of padding before we go through the rest of the drivers. 8 have taken a time. Emily Howe moves again up to the top. Mo Perry going to once again beat the number 83, and it's a back and forth battle up ahead for the drivers, taking the best times they can. Nicholas Pressey jumps up with 1/1000 of a second lead. Still some notables who have yet to take to the track. Hamilton Akabuzi, as you mentioned right here, he is on the circuit, but on pit road, and Craig Forsyth is now just getting onto the track. Bobby Blowers pulls up to the top with 1/16,000 of a second advantage, so maybe Blowers has some pace as Forsyth is coming across the line at 180 miles an hour. That's about the slowest 180 has looked all throughout the day, and he's still warming himself up slowly. Lily Pelletier Sharp coming across to conclude lap number 1 for the 18 team. At the line, Lily gonna jump up with a 25.704. That is good for 12th. Now 13th as another driver goes through, and Bobby Blowers still remains quickest in the session.
It is, of course, worth noting the trend we've seen throughout the season so far is that lap 2 is where a driver can be fastest. They take the opportunity to run high through the first lap just to build up that speed to try and get the fastest possible momentum. As Carmen Sienna goes for a spin and will have to reset, that was following her 4 completed laps, so it looks like Carmen Sienna's time will be set at a 25.421 outside of the top 10. But yeah, you want to be looking for these cars where they run the higher line on one lap to set up the next one, and then they want to try and hood the bottom, take the shortest route, because the shortest line is the fastest one most of the time around these big ovals. This is, of course, the last big oval with this Super Speedway aero kit before the Arrowhead 500 at Indianapolis. So a chance for Rober to punch a ticket and complete that sort of rookie orientation that this series requires, but also the last chance we have to see this dynamic on a big oval, because the 500, it'll be a 4-lap average rather than a fastest of 4, if my memory serves correctly anyway.
Now looking at the number 92 of Alex Martin Indianapolis, the one, of course, track we're looking forward to, the Brickyard, none like it, and the 4-lap average, we'll get confirmation of that momentarily, although I do believe that is the case. Not going to be same for certain as the single car qualifying we're seeing here. Craig Forsyth got very close to taking that top time. Matter of fact, the difference was only 2/1000ths of a second, and now Martin going to be up into 16, so a lot of our front runners have gone. Hamilton is still sitting on pit road, so that's one driver who's really going to wait until it's all said and done. Most of the field is given in by this point, and you gotta wonder, is there really an advantage in sitting that long? Hamilton's finally on the track right now for Team I5G. Let's see what can be done here, as now the 7 is on the way.
I've already talked about it a couple of times so far this season, but I'm one of those drivers who likes to leave it relatively late in a single car qualifying session, only because maybe you might not have the best of the track conditions, depending on how the track temperature's progressing. But what you are going to have is knowledge of what everyone else has done. You know what you're capable of, you know what the car's capable of, and you've seen what everyone else is capable of. So now you can take that moment to kind of do a little bit of risk management and decide exactly how much you want to push. And you know exactly how much you need to push to try and get the best out of your car and your machinery. Hamilton Akabusi then taking advantage of running that high line to build up the speed on his first lap. Not going for it this time around, but certainly getting faster.
Worth noting, Hamilton has made 2 starts on super speedways this season at Texas and at Las Vegas. Both times he put that car on pole.
That time by good for 20th, but I'll tell you this much, of course, the best laps are yet to come.
He did forget about Homestead, but he disconnected during qualifying and couldn't set a lap. That's the exception. You did see him cut down to the apron through 3 and 4. I think you'll see it again here. Not allowed in the race, but during qualifying, it's the shortest line. Is it the fastest line? And Akabusi puts it on pole by a full 10th of a second.
And he's done. He's done. He's parked it. He knows that's good enough. A 10th of a second at a super speedway is huge. That is so big. What an impressive bit of driving from Hamilton Akabusi there to clear the entire field by a 10th of a second.
And for reference, the gap between Hamilton and Bobby Blowers, first and second, that's equal to the gap from Bobby Blowers all the way down to just about Zach McBride. That's the difference between 2nd and 17th.
And I think that's what Hamilton brings to the table in these sorts of races. It's that detail for the tiniest thing that can give him an edge. A lot of these drivers, they're seeing qualifying as something to not put too much time into. They'd rather focus on the race round and working out how to deal in traffic. But if you can put down a lap that good consistently and put it on pole, we've seen it before. He doesn't have to deal with traffic for a lot of the race. And so it deals him in a very good spot to start off this event.
Two drivers slow rolling. Hamilton down pit road. Brandon Cruz is perhaps waiting to get a lap in. There's still 2 minutes left, and Cruz picking up the pace slightly, 85 miles an hour here, but it looks like Cruz might not set another time the way things are looking. Every driver in the session has taken a lap, notably Austin Farr still not with us here, so maybe it's going to be Hamilton's race to lose, but there's still 124 laps separating him from the checkered flag. Nothing's a guarantee, but already shaping up to have one driver, clearly the quickest of them all, at least in qualifying. We'll see if that maintains itself as we move on to what is next. Cruz is still the only driver we're looking at here, so we'll ride on board with Brandon and see if he gets on for one flying lap. Looks like he's going to start pulling through the gears again, and we might have one more flyer.
We have seen Cruz take the approach of choosing to start from the back of the field and sort of cut through slowly over time. I think he hit the gas too late there on lap 3, and so this will likely be the same, but he's giving it a go. He's definitely trying to put down a lap. I just don't know if it will be what he's hoping for.
Yeah, I'll admit I'm a little bit confused as to what strategy Brandon Cruz is going for. Here as he spins out of 3 and 4 and comes across the line to put it last on the grid. Interesting. Very interesting.
Within 107% just about, so we'll let it slide. But that will complete the grid, and it will be the number 7 car for the 3rd time this season, starting and leading the field to green here, with Bobby Blowers alongside.
Hamilton collecting the pole, and just like that, qualifying concluded with Brandon Cruz getting his lap in. Everyone has put a lap together. Everyone's gone for the maximum amount of laps. Matter of fact, now it's time to figure out who starts where from top to bottom here in Kansas. Welcome to the Kansas 300. Hamilton Akabuezi getting the man to meet you at the start-finish line. It's the number 7 top of the board with a 25.159. Bobby Blowers, a full 10th back, is going to be in second. Third place is going to be running for Craig Forsyth. He was close to grabbing a front row spot. 0.02 of a second difference between Forsyth and Blowers, with Nicholas Pressey then in position number 4. It's going to be 5th place for Mo Perry and Christina Ryan then in 6th, with 7th then being Sophie Connell and Emily Howe in 8th. 9th is going to go then to Bruce Silva's 36, and Lilac Sear will conclude the top 10 tonight.
Edson Santos led the most laps last week. He'll have to start from 11th this time out, with Pacey Wygant alongside on the 6th row. Alex Miller with a fantastic result, a podium last time out, starts 13th. Frankie Wynn will start 14th. Lily Pelletier-Sharp and Carmen Sienna with matching times, completing the 8th row of the grid. Stat McBride and debutant Martin Roberg behind on row 9. And there's Alex Martin, Parker Alexander, and Brandon Cruz rounding out your 21 car field today here at Kansas.
Now the grid right in front of your screen, taking a look at Hamilton Akabuezi, and to his outside is going to be Bobby Blowers. Hamilton putting the field on notice, though. I think everyone's aware now how much speed he has, if they weren't already. That's one thing we haven't done yet. Picks. Who are we choosing to get it done tonight?
So with no Austin Farr, I've had to go for an alternate pick tonight. We discussed it before the broadcast that if Austin was here, he was going to be my nice safe pick to go for that might guarantee me some brownie points here. But as the field pulls away, my pick for tonight is going to be the ever fast 2nd place finisher from last week, Craig Forsyth. We've seen some fantastic speed from him, especially over the last couple of weeks. So I think he's finally got into his stride in this series a little bit more. He said himself that he's got into his stride a little bit more in this championship. So I think he can carry that momentum forward and bag himself not only another podium, but another win quite easily.
I'll keep this quick. It's Hamilton Atabusi. I think everyone knows why I'm picking Atabusi. As we come into turn 3, it's your pick, David, and then take us through the start of the race.
Hamilton is self-explanatory. Forsyth has been quick. How about the driver who's running right outside the number 7, Bobby Blowers? I still feel this 34 team is due for a breakout, and maybe not a chance to shine from the high side. It's going to be Hamilton, though, right down low, and the number 7 is going to lead us to the green for 124 laps of ABN action in the Champ Car World Series. Going to be Hamilton down and in as the pace car goes down to pit road. Now grab a gear and get into the green. Welcome to Tornado Alley. We're green from the Kansas Speedway.
Multiple cars already dropping below the line in 1 and 2. Christina Ryan had a bit of a tangle with Nicholas Pressey, ducked below the line, and I think Zad McBride at the tail end of the field spun, catching the apron on the exit of 2 on the inside line. No caution out, but is now half a lap
and Bobby
down
Blowers
already.
is destroyed.
Oh my god.
34's race is already
the
done.
wall on the exit of 2, and just straight into the inside wall again, staying green as Craig Forsyth got to the inside of Akabusi for the lead, but Akabusi now fighting back, and already a lot of drama here in the opening couple laps of this race. Outside pole gone.
I think that might be the quickest the curse of the commentator has actually struck so far this championship.
No, I had Hamilton disconnecting before the race even started.
Does that count?
Maybe.
I think it counts, but you gotta admit,
Akabusi now leading though.
how about that? Hamilton up in front, Craig Forsyth in second, Mo Perry up to third, and he's pulling away from Emily Howe and the like, so good run so far for Mo Perry, but there's still so much more to tell. This race has only just begun. Looks like Nicholas Pressey also having a little bit more trouble in the most recent laps we've seen, but leaders are pulling away. The closest battle now looks to be between Pacey Wygen and now Sophie Connell.
Oh, there's another spinner. We just had another spinner. I think that was Brandon Cruz getting loose off of turns 1 and 2. 1 and 2 proven to be a tricky mistress here tonight. No damage for the number 54 car. They're managing to keep it rolling and no caution. We stay green here at Kansas.
Looked like it was the same problem corner for Pressey. It's a mix between drivers tapping that wall on the exit and then dropping loose onto the apron, or whether they're trying to use the tools a bit too much to stay away from it and then spin on their own.
Carmen Sienna down to the apron, and now another
Kansas City
instance.
Then, Kansas City, Kansas Speed.
Another issue for Carmen Sienna.
The 96
Carmen not
back
having a
on the
good
way.
couple of weeks so far. Yeah, Carmen Sienna not having a good couple of weeks so far. Just getting a little bit loose on that apron again. But yeah, coming off the back of a not so fantastic result. A couple of laps down in last week's race. But Carmen looking to try and recover tonight, but not making a good start to that sort of charge today.
Can we breathe yet?
No, you're not allowed.
Oh. The one constant is Akabusi, now 8 laps complete, and does lead Craig Forsyth, with Mo Perry and the rest of the field starting to fall into the distance. These two, I think maybe with a bit of a truce right now, not fighting too hard, just happy to run this line right now. Forsyth did set the fastest lap in the draft, but no real attempts to make another move on the 7 car. And this 2-car tandem is working well so far.
Yeah, it's one of the strategies that you can utilize at circuits such as this. If you can maintain a decent pace without fighting, it's going to help you pull away from everyone else, because a lot of the time you'll find the pack behind starts to jostle for position back and forth, and as much as it does gain you track position, you're going to start losing a lot of time to those who aren't fighting. So Hamilton Akabusi and Craig Forsyth, perhaps a couple of the smartest drivers on the grid right now, just trying to get to the pit window and start thinking about the end of this race already.
And you can see the communication. They're being predictable. Akabusi being the lead car, sweeping to the inside line, Forsyth behind, just sits about a lane up, doesn't let himself get into the dirt, and as Alex Martin is slow out of through turn 3 and 4, I think he's had the same issue coming out of turn 2 and has found the outside wall, or the inside wall, at a very high speed, and that is another car that'll be out of this race before the 10% mark.
Oh, not a comfortable crash for last week's 9th place finisher, Alex Martin there. Looks like it... I'm trying to get a judge on that. Is it going to be a front wing change, or have we got some suspension damage there as well?
I think the wheel was gone.
Yeah, that could be race over for the 92 crew already today then.
A similar issue for Frankie Wynn, a much lighter tap out of 2, but forced to save the car and running slowly now, and being swallowed up by the cars behind, some who had issues earlier on in the race. And we're spotting the problem corner very early, and I think it's going to be a bit of a survival race for now, just to try and get the car underneath you and not push it too much through there to make it the remaining 110 laps to the checker.
Just thinking about why turns 1 and 2 might be a bit of an issue here tonight. If you look at a track map of Kansas Speedway, you'll see it's, for want of a better word, a little bit egg-shaped. Not to the same extent as Darlington, and not in the same direction. But with the way that the tri-oval kind of opens opens up the exit of turn 4, you have the wall moving away from you as you open up the steering to get out of the corner. But in turns 1 and 2, it does the exact opposite thing where it tightens on the exit of the corner. So the wall isn't in the same position as you'd expect it to be, for want of a better phrase. You'll find you can't carry so much speed through there as you can turns 3 and 4. And some drivers are struggling with that, as we do have our first caution of the night. And would you look at that? It's an incident through turns 1 and 2. Hopefully we can get a replay on that and see just what happened.
Yeah,
There you go.
Brandon Cruz, the car involved.
Brandon Cruz up into the wall, just that turn 1 and 2 exit wall coming to meet him.
And right behind, Zach McBride's had in the wall.
The ride on board here is Zach McBride, and you see you're going to get lifted right back up the track, and that's the trouble there for the number 47 of McBride, and also involved Brandon Cruz there with that huge hit. It's a smoke show as they come out of 2, and once again, trouble. That seems to be the tricky turn for these drivers so far. Dangerous instance as we get moving once again. 17 laps in out of 124. It's going to be Hamilton Akabuezi up in front, then Craig Forsyth in second, and Emily Howe, position number 3, as we're lining up for a caution again. Drivers getting sorted out once more. 18 laps in out of 124 to this point, and time to get moving all over again here in Kansas. As it stands, first yellow flag of the day, and how about that one? Zach McBride going to be involved right alongside was Brandon Cruz. And the action here, pit road is getting busy this time by, so let's see what's going on as drivers are going to dive deep. This time through, we go down and in.
No issues on pit lane then for our race leaders. Hamilton Akabuezi coming out nose to tail as they were. Hamilton Akabuezi and Craig Forsyth coming out nose to tail as they were on pit lane entry. Hamilton Akabuezi retaining that lead coming to 2 to go.
Yeah, there should be 2 more stops from here with that top off. Without too much issue. The window being 35 to 42 laps. We're going to have just over 100, or maybe 105 when we go green, so should be nice and simple for these drivers. So now it's a question of whose car is still running at 100% and who's confident to push through that turn 2, which has been such a problem so far in this race.
I'm surprised as to how much of an issue it's been, to be honest with you, because we've been to a few similar tracks to Kansas Speedway so far, and I don't think we've seen half as many drivers have this big an issue with an exit barrier.
Yeah, I think part of the thing is not only does the corner tighten up in a way that the tri-oval doesn't, but the tri-oval still carries about 10 degrees of banking, a little bit aggressive. The back stretch just 5 degrees, and so on the exit of 2, the car really unloads as the track flattens out, and maybe that is just something that the car's disagreeing with, or some of the drivers are just struggling to get the car tuned to adjust for that.
Yep.
But we are going back green here in just a few moments' time, and it will be Akabuezi and Forsyth, who have really been faultless so far, leading the field back to the green flag. Oh, and never mind. We have
Hamilton Akabuezi up in front as it stands. Going to be the driver who leads the way currently, and Craig Forsyth in second, Emily Howe third, in position number 4. It's going to be Mo Perry. As we get things going here, going to be Lilac Zier rounding out the top 5, Edson Santos in 6th, and Christina Ryan in 7th. We're coming to the restart right now, and we're getting ready to go at it all over again. Hamilton, the dominant driver so far as we expected. Now the big question is, who's the driver running right behind? Maybe Forsyth can stay up there in that 2-car tandem we've previously discussed.
They've certainly been looking the best two for it so far tonight. That little ceasefire these two seem to have is going to pay them absolute dividends towards the end of this race, because they might not be saving as much fuel as everyone else back in the pack, but they're going to be keeping their noses clean. And if the cautions continue in this way, I think these two are going to be in the best position all night.
Rolling on the top side at a turn 4. Hamilton getting the man up on the high side, and Craig Forsyth not too far back there. Gonna be single file for the first restart of the day. Green flag gonna get going once again. Hamilton with the jump, and we're on the move once again from Kansas.
Already some joss on the backstretch. Emily Howe making her presence known, but nearly 3 wide behind this pack between Mo Perry, Lilac Zier, and Edson Santos. Looking very dicey indeed. People want to get moves done now before maybe then settling in. Lilac Zier wants none of it and drops back behind Santos, but now has the low line as the leaders are fanned out 3 wide ahead. And here comes Lilac Zier again. Maybe. Gonna back out of it again, and once again, you see the 3 lanes now that these drivers are trying to run in a bit more traffic. There is room to run those 3 lanes, and if you have 2 cars ahead of you, both of them are going to give you basically as much dirty air as each other. So you want to try and get yourself organised as well as possible to not lose too much time to yourself and the cars ahead.
Edson Santos then doing exactly what he did last week and just doing his best to take that dirty air from all the cars behind him. He led the most laps in that way last week, and now he's just trying to make his way back up to the front. Already up 6 places from his starting position, but Lilac Zier is looking to try and get something done here. Right down to the inside on that white line, drifting up just barely. Edson Santos leaving just enough room to force Lilac Zier to check up on exit, and that's all that momentum gone in a heartbeat.
Lilac can end up much further back now, 0.4 of a second behind Edson Santos, and maybe Santos now with a chance to gain on Mo Perry at the line. Still several tenths slower than Mo in the group up in front, but Lilac Zier going to lose an awful lot of time there in the 26-second bracket. Maybe Alex Miller now going to have an opportunity here as Craig Forsyth, Hamilton Akabuezi have gotten away again. Emily Howe now going to be the 3rd driver in the mix, rolling up to the top and trying to do something different here. We were talking a lot before the broadcast about track measurements, the high side, the low side, and everything in between, and I think these drivers now choosing every which way to figure out what's the best way to go around this about 1.5-mile circuit.
I don't think there's any best line at the moment. It's simply a case of looking at the car ahead and doing what they don't do. But Craig Forsyth making moves really early on at the start of the stint. I think perhaps under a little bit of a threat from Emily Howe, who was much further back before the caution came out. Craig Forsyth, of course, finishing second to Emily Howe last week by only 3.5 hundredths of a second. Doesn't want to make a repeat of that tonight, and fancy trying to put Hamilton Akabuezi between him and Emily Howe to try and give himself a chance of taking the win.
We saw Forsyth when it was just a 2-car tandem at the front, trying to run about just 1 lane up, not try and drift too high. Again, communication between those two wanting to work together. Now that it's a 3-car fight, Forsyth's trying to throw some dirty air behind it. It's almost a game of rock, paper, scissors almost. You're trying to predict what the car behind's going to do and then do the same thing. And they're trying to do the exact opposite.
A close
been
battle in
calling
the
it.
second half of the field here as we look away from leaders for just a moment. Sophie Connell going to be working with Parker Alexander, and the gap between these two drivers less than a tenth of a second. A few other drivers getting in the battles here. There's going to be Christina Ryan with Pacey Wygant. It looks like Christina gets by. That's a move good for 8th. Most of the field is spread out right now, including those leaders, but I'm going to highlight just a few of the best battles as the race goes on from here on out.
Yeah, look at that. A little bit of dirty air dancing between Christina Ryan and Pacey Wygant there. These two drivers having the time of their life already, battling it out for 8th place. Christina Ryan doing everything she can to try and throw that dirty air that we were talking about earlier at Pacey Wygant, and it's working so far. For the last 2 corners, being able to predict exactly where Pacey was putting that car to take all of that clean air off the nose of the IRA team behind.
Most recent victim of the exit of 2, Edson Santos, catching a slide and falling back behind Lyle at 0 again. Doing a great job to only lose that 1 spot, but it's showing that even the best drivers are getting caught out today.
Yep, turn 2 wall showing absolutely no bias. It doesn't matter how experienced you are, with the nearly 50 Celsius track temp we're seeing here, anyone can be sent out there tonight.
Watching our leaders again going through turn 2, and it looks like compared to everyone else in the field, so well planted through these corners, especially the first 2 turns. There's definitely a difference right now for the best of the best up ahead. You see Alex Miller with a bit of a wiggle, but even outside of the top 5, drivers having trouble. Zach McBride again is going to lose a few seconds on this lap. He's going to go around at 190 there, so he slows himself down substantially. And we're seeing some drivers facing it worse than others, shall we say. But overall, majority of the field has gotten going. Brandon Cruz, Alex Martin, Bobby Blowers, only retirees, as Parker Alexander is now going to pass the rookie in Martin Roberg. And Roberg drops down into, well, the number 41 right now on the tail end of Parker Alexander, however, and maybe a chance these two can get into a tandem, much like Hamilton Akabuezi and Craig Forsyth, and maybe go up there to fight with...
That's another spinner. I think I can't quite tell who that was. Was that Pacey Wygant?
Pacey Wygant.
Yeah, Pacey Wygant. The most recent victim of that turn 2 wall. That's a lot of damage on the front left of that car, but another 1-car incident that doesn't bring out the caution, but potentially ending the day for one of our drivers tonight. Oh, that is a hard hit as well.
No going back from that one, yeah.
Very self-cleaning track with how quickly it fires you down to that very wide apron. If you go down there on your own, you're probably not going to have the caution to save you, even if the car is fixable. That's going to be day done for the 00 car. And just like that, we are down to 17 remaining on the lead lap.
Parker Alexander then getting into the wall a little bit in the fight with the number 41 of Martin Roberg. I've got to admit, that's really strange to talk about the 41 car.
And Lily Peltier Sharp, another victim. And there's no coming back either.
Toes straight away, no caution. We are still green. The fighting continues. The number 41 car of Martin Roberg now pulling a bit of a gap on Parker Alexander and trying to hunt down Christina Ryan. Taking that outside line through turns 3 and 4, just trying to get a little bit of clean air on the car. And joining Christina Ryan and trying to hunt down Carmen Sienna at the moment.
I will note how much Abuse, our current race leader, just got on the radio to communicate with the drivers to recommend some settings. Of course, you have the front and rear anti-roll bars and the weight jacker, huge factors on how the car handles on these ovals, and with how treacherous this track's been, some expert advice could come in handy, but that is Parker Alexander also catching the wall in the exit of 2. You'll see it here. And yeah, it seems like the most dangerous crashes are the ones where they just make contact on the exit of 2. The ones where they've kind of forced the car off away from the wall almost tend to just result in single car spins or looseness that holds them in place.
Carmen Sienna slow, but not going to be damaged after a little bit of a stumble herself. The 96 is going, and another driver. That was 3 dropouts in 3 laps, rather. 18th, 17th, 16th are all decided now, and it's only going to be 15 left on the lead lap. I'll tell you this much. Few close battles, maybe expect that number of lead lap drivers to drop and those who are retirees to keep on growing. Don't like to say it out, of course, but it looks like tonight Kansas is really getting the best of these drivers, especially out of 2. We've seen now 5 wrecks that look almost exactly the same, and the fear is that these drivers are still pushing it to the point where we're going to see more and more of that. Now, of course, we still got a lot of time to go here. The race is far from decided, so I'm certain there's drivers still fighting for position, but looks like the track is becoming much more of a factor than maybe originally anticipated, and those scorching track temperatures are not going to make it any easier for those who are up in front.
Yeah, definitely. I felt coming into this it'd be more of a pack race than we're seeing here tonight. We've seen a lot of tracks where you are racing the track and not the pack, but this one definitely I thought would be a case of the latter. But a lot of our drivers really struggling to get a handle on Kansas Speedway. It's again not something that I thought would be a difficult circuit, but we are lucky that we've got a grid of very talented, very skilled drivers that learn very quickly what you can and can't do. We've seen a couple of single file restarts that the second they've gone wrong, the grid were able to react really quickly to be like, right, okay, let's never do that again. But some of the guys not quite getting the message with that outside wall at turn 2 here tonight, but at least some of that messaging is going to be getting through to some of the guys that are still safe and on track right now.
And talking about fast learners, we had the camera on Martin Robert for a couple of laps earlier, running side by side with the Season 2 champion Christina Ryan, who won the title under the lights here, and now starting to streak away and start to chase down Alex Miller. Of course, I'm sure I have a lot of expertise outside of this series, but coming in quickly and already not scared to make moves, and looking like pass with flying colours to move on to the Arrowhead 500 in a few weeks' time.
We already know how powerful the curse of the commentator is, so let's not jump to anything.
Yeah,
so
why did I say that much?
I would like the number 41 car to get to the end of the race, please. A small amount of background on that. 41 is was my racing number in Champ Car before I stepped into the commentary booth, and I'm genuinely very happy to see it back on track tonight.
Yeah, I stole Kevin Young's number while he was in the booth, and then when I hopped in the booth, he took the number back. So the 72 playing commentator musical chairs here, as Bruce Silver streaking through in a battle here with Carmen Sienna ahead, just on the fringe of the top 10. And they're more than half lap down at this point, as we are moving dangerously towards the pit cycle. Dare I say those words? The cars be lighter on fuel and maybe not responding the way people are expecting. Now side by side with Carmen Sienna slow on the exit of 2. But it looks like she might get the run out of turn 4 with that high line and maybe clear coming into turn 1 here. But he's going to leave room down on the bottom, and the battle continues. Bruce Silver going to drift back on the exit of 2, and Carmen Sienna defends that expertly after a small side-by-side moment.
I almost feel like we have to congratulate the drivers every time they get into the dirty air and don't hit the wall.
Up near the front of the field, Grade 4 Scythe has fallen right off the back of Howard Tatabusi, and now is having to fend off Emily Howe. I'm not sure what's happened there over the last couple of laps, but maybe tyre fall off starting to get to the 27 car in that dirty air. And Tatabusi now with nearly a 2-second lead, as these two are slowing each other down with this side-by-side action.
Emily Howe just slotting in there right behind Craig Forsyth on the exit of 2. Nearly a little bit of contact between the two drivers with that far extending rear crash structure. But then Emily Howe not able to keep that momentum going through turns 3 and 4, has now dropped back to half a second, as we are watching a little bit of a fight on track between Sophie Connell and Christina Ryan. Christina Ryan, who's been throwing dirty air perfectly at her competitors here tonight, but has now got the number 69 of Sophie Connell to contend with. Are we going to see a little bit of a fight emerge here? Are they going to start throwing the dirty air at each other and slowing each other down? There's 4 seconds between Sophie and rookie Martin Roberg, so maybe they'll want to close that gap up a little bit, but at the end of the day, you kind of want to make up as many positions as you can, but these drivers are here to race. Don't expect them to hold back.
Zach McBride a little bit slower at the line again. He's one of the drivers who's been on wit's end for most of the night here, but it looks like he's still together. Goes 1 lap down though, and Hamilton now approaching the lap traffic, getting by one of which in McBride. Up next, it's going to be Nicholas Pressey, and the back half of the field, they're going to have company if Hamilton keeps up the pace. Carmen Sienna now going to be arriving to Christina Ryan, and the number 80 goes up top. Sienna, having a bit of trouble previously, decides to take it high, and Zach McBride is opting to go down pit road here after about a 33-lap stint. He's our first green flag pit stop for non-destructive purposes, shall we say. The car is still mostly intact anyhow, so this could be the signal we're going to see more pit stops as the race progresses under green.
And Emily Howe's slow now as well. No, not going to drop down. I was expecting maybe she'd off the back of Craig Forsyth to make that trip down pit road, as Zach McBride going slow the previous lap due to an aborted pit entry attempt comes down this time. But this is about where the fuel window is, and so over the next few laps we should see the entire field start to make that hard left down to pit road.
To fill in the blanks of what happened with Emily Howe there, she got into a little bit of a tango with Craig Forsyth, and he was able to perfectly predict exactly where she was going to place the car and give her a little bit of dirty air on that high side and slow her right down in the corner as Hamilton Akabusi comes down pit lane.
And here we go. Go for a bit of an undercut here. Has a decent enough gap to pull it off, I should think, and now everyone's starting to respond. Multiple calls on the radios of cars expected to come down pit road. This is a crucial phase of the race, getting into pit road, onto the jacks, and then back out without any issues. It's going to gain you a lot of time. And so far, it seems like the driver's managing it cleanly enough. But we've still got about 10 cars still left to make this trip to refill a tank.
Here come your race leaders onto pit lane. Craig Forsyth and Emily Howe, only a couple of laps after Hamilton Akabusi, come down for their stops. All they're going to need here is something nice and clean to get them off pit lane in the same positions that they entered in. But zero pressure on either of these guys right now, because this is meant to be the easy bit.
Yeah, Alex Miller and Sophie Connell, 2 cars that have chosen to extend.
Sorry to interrupt there, Olivia, but Emily Howe's missed her box, goes a little bit long just trying to get the car stopped, and that's going to cost her a little bit of time on pit exit. Although luckily for her, she hasn't lost too much time to Craig Forsyth, but Forsyth going to be able to build up that speed a little bit earlier than Emily is, and that might drop her back into the pack.
Total pit lane delta there with that mistake. 1.4 seconds slower than Craig Forsyth, and 1.7 behind the 7 of Akabusi, who, as we expect, was precise with his stop. 34.0 seconds, the fastest of anyone so far. Alex Miller still extending the stint just a little bit longer. I believe the only car still out without a pit stop. But it's now going to have to try and cut down onto pit road, and nearly gets collected by Carmen Sienna. Couldn't quite get to the low line on entry, but manages to pull it off. And just like that, we've made it through a green flag pit cycle.
Now the number 7 of Hamilton Akabusi gonna reclaim that race lead. Hamilton coming right up to the top of the track, and now gonna make a move through. It's time for the number 7 to return to the top of the board with a 6-second lead. It's 8 seconds now for Craig Forsyth, and it is substantial. You can see right now Emily Howe, Lilac Zier, and company all coming around, but they are still far, far away from Hamilton. Maybe an opportunity now to fight for second a little tighter, but the number 7 playing the pit stop strategy better than anyone else and converting 0.3 of an edge on pit road to several seconds. Big deal there for the entire number 7 crew, and now far enough away to not have to worry all too much about those like Forsyth, Howe, and the like.
One thing we are going to see here as we move into this sort of extended phase of the race, the cars are a lot more spread out, and we do have lapped machinery. That actually the 7 car is already cleared, but the 2 cars chasing him down will have to cut through about 5 lapped cars to get there, and they're going to be throwing just as much dirt as anyone else, and they're going to want to stay on the lead lap if they can. You never want to lose a lap on an oval, and so that just makes their job that little bit harder. Emily Howe's pushing has set the fastest lap on these fresh tyres, but the gap to the lead is more than 9 seconds, and 9/10 behind Craig Forsyth now.
That pit stop error costing Emily Howe dearly and leaving her under a little bit of threat from Lilac Zero and Mo Perry. These two, a little bit of... Let's double check I'm actually talking about the right fight here. No, that was Lilac Zero going past Frankie Wynn, putting them a lap down. Sorry, got myself a little bit confused there, but yeah, Emily Howe putting herself under threat from last week's pole sitter, Lilac Zero. Less than a second between these two now, just Lilac hunting for that clean air on the low side, and then getting back up into that draft on the backstretch to try and close the gap to Emily Howe. She's still got the slipstream on Craig Forsyth, managing to close that gap back up from the pit lane incident. And actually, she's looking quite racy. I think she wants to have a go at Craig sooner rather than later.
Forsyth now feeling that pressure.
Faster. I think the lap traffic ahead of Zach McBride is starting to throw some dirty air. And yeah, Craig Forsyth running much slower than we expect, and Emily Howe already right on the back. Maybe Emily just giving it absolutely everything in these laps. We said that she set the fastest lap a few laps ago. That most recent lap, only a 10th off that time, despite sort of 10 laps on those tyres and pushing it too hard.
That's last week's race winner in the barrier on the inside of the back stretch. Turn 2, very much not discriminating against who she bites here tonight. Championship contender and last week's race winner, carrying a little bit of too much speed for the dirty air, making that small error that's going to end her race very quickly tonight.
For me, that has shades of the Texas race earlier in the season. How Busey, with a massive stroke through the pit cycle, Emily Howe sort of falling behind on strategy, pushing to try and close the gap, and forced into a massive error. And that on a week where Austin Farr was absent and taking his final drop week, there should have been a chance to gain massively in the championship battle, but it goes up in smoke. And now that elevates Lilac Zero onto the podium with Mo Perry and Edson Santos chasing down for those spots.
Major championship implications there. This could have been, as you mentioned, the biggest, most important week of the campaign, perhaps, for Emily Howe, who had a slight advantage just a few weeks prior. It's been a toss and turn ever since with Austin Farr. And a night like this, you don't want to have it go to waste. That might just be what happened there. Turn 2 been the trickiest of all, and another driver going to be a victim here in Kansas. Tornado Alley sweeps another as we're watching the lappers go to battle. Now Craig Forsyth, far less pressure, up in second.
Ooh, Common Sienna exits stage right, getting loose off the exit of 2 after almost a little bit of side-by-side with previous championship leader Nick Pressey. Just about manages to get that gathered up, but those cars' rear tyres have not cooled back down yet. Common Sienna struggling for grip through the tri-oval.
Not too surprised to see the car exit that shot. A lot more surprised to see it re-enter in one piece. I thought that was going to be day done for the 96 car, but back at it once again and right back on the bumper of the 90, not the bumper, the rear of the 94, but slight bit of contact with a wall. She's not happy with that car for some reason. It might be damage, but whatever it is, she's not comfortable. And now 1 lap down and down in P11. It's going to be a long way to go in this race.
When we look ahead to our leader in Hamilton Akabuezi, keep one thing in mind now. 7 drivers on the lead lap going back to Martin Roberg. It's been dominance up in front and so many drivers off the lead lap, not only due to incident, but also due to pace. Hamilton right now has a 10-second lead over Craig Forsyth. More than a third of the track at this rate, and could be closer and closer to halfway. Nicholas Pressing now right there with Carmen Sienna. Both drivers struggling with some control issues throughout the race. However, it looks like now they're both in one piece, and we'll hope they remain as such as they come across the line again. Pressy with a minor advantage. Lappers are still fighting for spots here because there's drivers with valuable positions, even if they are 1 lap down. 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, all 1 lap down exactly. Christina Ryan is 14th and 2 laps down as it stands. No reason to give up right now for these drivers, and a little more motivation perhaps for a guy like Martin Roberg to keep pushing. Roberg, the rookie, first race this season, and it looks like for Martin a little bit of a wiggle there, but he keeps it together and still on the lead lap, but 4 seconds behind. It's Hamilton getting closer and closer to putting another driver off the lead lap.
.48 laps to go here at Kansas Speedway. Hamilton Akabuezi leading the way by a comfortable 10.7 seconds from Craig Forsyth, who's had a little bit of pressure from Lilac Zier not too long ago, but that gap has opened up with some of the lap traffic just now. Mo Perry currently sat in 4th, a couple of seconds clear of Edson Santos, who's got a nice little bit of a gap to Alex Miller in P6. Car 41, Martin Roberg, P7 on debut so far and up 11 places, leading Bruce Silver by 7.5 seconds. Sophie Connell currently sat in P9 in a little bit of a fight with Bruce Silver in P8, and then Nicholas Pressy in that fight with Carmen Sienna rounds out your top 10 at this stage of the race.
Seeing the battle between Craig Forsyth and Lilac Zier ebb and flow over the last maybe 10 laps. The lap car of Zach McBride, the most recent one to getting down to pit road early, getting it accurately, and with that 3-second lead he held into the cycle, that was enough to put him ahead of the traffic with everyone else behind. And with how tricky it has been in the dirty air here, that's what's let him grow that gap from 3 seconds on entry to 6 on exit, and now up to 11, nearly 12 seconds as we're starting to walk towards the final pit cycle of the race, maybe in about 10 laps time.
81 laps in out of 124 so far. Besides the early cautions, we've had quite a few incidents, that's for certain, but most of which have been single car and caused in one particular area of the track. Otherwise, drivers have held together very nicely tonight, and we are coming down to what's been a strategy race since the very beginning, and its close is nearer and nearer. Hamilton right now going to be 12.1 seconds ahead of Craig Forsyth. That is half the track by now. The field is so far away from our leader, there's minimal chance without a yellow flag or two to even bunch them up to begin with. Lilac Zier is making up some time, however, on Craig Forsyth, which is a point we're looking at a little bit more and more. Lilac has been in the middle ground between Hamilton and Craig's laps. Quicker than Forsyth, not as quick as Akabuezi, however, right now still running a very good, solid middle ground, helping with this number 89 crew as they continue to make up little more time. Back to Craig. Lappers are still fighting with Carmen Sienna and Nick Pressy. Even if they're not on lead lap, they're going to be fighting aggressively as well, so we'll keep our eyes on both battles here as Lilac approaches Forsyth yet again.
Yeah, that gap's slowly been coming down over the last few laps. It seems like Lilac's really able to start to close it when it's just her chasing down Craig. It's when the traffic gets involved that she starts to drop back. But she's consistently knocked at least a tenth of a second off of Craig Forsyth in the last few laps, except for that one where she just lost a tenth as the gap has opened back up to a second.
Side-by-side battle right now between lappers. Again, it's going to be Carmen Sienna down at the bottom and Nick Pressey up top. These drivers have been fighting for the better half of 30 laps. Pressey very high. Straight, but that's a very, very close call with Hamilton Akabuezi a little bit slower off the exit of the corner, and it looks like he's losing time and losing it fast. For Hamilton there, he's going to lose just a bit. However, it's still going to be an 8-second lead after a bit of a bobble, and all is well despite a little bit of a slip-up and playing it much safer than the next corner.
And that's a surprising one to see. A big moment through turn 3 and 4. The number 7 car doing a great job to save it. And yeah, it's like even though sort of thrown off his rhythm on the exit of 2, it was the following corner that took the bigger bite. Still holding the gap pretty well. The car seems to be in one piece, and he's bringing it back up to speed here. Just feel it out a little bit. He's got the room to be patient with it. With the cars behind being the ones in that pack. The 7 just has clear air ahead, and even 4 lappers separating him from this battle on the edge of the podium.
I've been monitoring the track temp throughout the entirety of this race so far, and it's really been fluctuating since the start of the event. It was as low as 46 at one point, but it keeps kind of flitting between 50 and 52 at the moment. And we know just how much track temp can affect the pace of a car, because it just makes the track surface that much more slick, especially on an oval when you've got 14 cars doing nearly 200 miles an hour on little strips of rubber that have been laid down. The heat can build up in that quite quickly and essentially melt the rubber a little bit, and it just makes the cars so much harder to handle. Perhaps again contributing to why we're seeing so many incidents on the exit of 2 today.
And there we have a pit lane call from Zach McBride, who was the first one in on the last stint. This will be 37 laps to go. You have to do a bit of saving time from here, I'd suspect, but for the rest of the field, that is the warning shot. The pit cycle may well be here, and as Nicholas Pressey gets passed by Craig Forsyth as a lap car, and then tags the wall a little bit. The rest of the field will be starting to look toward pit road and work out when they can risk putting themselves maybe a lap down for the benefit of having those fresh tyres to undercut some cars, as we saw Akabuezi do so well in the last cycle. And sure enough, lap 91, here comes our race leader once again and gets it stopped nice and smooth on the entry to pit road. Will Trade Forsyth or Lilac Zero respond? The 89 will. Just about gets it hooked down. Who doesn't is Nicholas Pressey, who actually has a bit of a spin on the pit entry, but will get it going without needing a caution. And
not quite. I think he's gone around again, Olivia.
I mean, at this point, those rears are lit up, and he's gonna be glad that they're coming off the card. While we're watching that, Akabuezi off and running once again. We're in the apron in 3 and 4. A normal length stop for him, so clearly that little stress in that last stint not doing lasting damage to the car. And it's Craig Forsyth currently leading, and actually just about 1 lap down from Akabuezi, but will now, 1 lap up, sorry, but now peel down pit road again. Maybe Edson Santos inheriting the lead as we come to lap 94 of this race, just 31 to go.
Lilac Zero making the unusual choice to go with the grain in terms of strategy today, pitting when the race leader pits, knowing she had to do something just a little bit different to Craig Forsyth. Perhaps getting on a fresh set of rubber, getting out in some clean air. Her pace in clean air has been really, really strong tonight. It's just been when she's approached the that bubble of dirty air behind another car that her pace has started to drop off. So getting herself out in the clean air on a fresh set of rubbers, on a fresh set of rubber even, Perhaps just what she needs to try and make up another position here tonight.
We've got bad news for her though. Trade Forsyth with a 33.9 pit lane time. Maybe it's the smoothest stop we've seen all day. And it's going to be enough to clear Lilac by maybe an extra second compared to what it was before the pit cycle. And we see that execution being vitally important. And the 27 car solidifying P2 with that move.
Yeah, Lilac here and Craig Forsyth then getting absolutely identical pit lane times, which is exactly what Craig Forsyth needed. Getting those 4 tyres off, getting that fuel on board in exactly the right amount of time to maintain that gap to the number 89 car, and I don't think there's going to be much more that she can do here until the end of this race.
Just 3 cars currently on the lead lap. Alex Miller and Sophie Connell extending their stints, and then Jacob Busey is the one 15 seconds away from those two and still on the lead lap. If there were a caution now, he would be dealt into a very good position. But as it's been for the last 75, 80 laps, we've managed to keep it green. We've had a lot of incidents, but they've been single car on the inside of turn 2. And I have to imagine the 49 and 69 don't have too much fuel left in the tank as we come to 25 laps to go. There's a call from the 69 car. Sophie Connell will appear at the end of this lap. I'd imagine Alex Miller won't be far behind.
Alex Miller then coming around to complete his 38th lap of this stint. Still well inside our fuel window. If he's clearly saved a little bit, maybe trying to anticipate a caution towards the end of this one. But it's been really nice to see Alex Miller's pace really come to fruition over the last couple of races. His luck hasn't been the best in the championship so far, but especially last week, he was able to execute really well and get himself that last spot on the podium as he does finally come down pit lane 1 lap later.
Yeah, and Frankie Wynn calling to follow. That will be a second pit cycle completed here. And as Wynn gets it down to the pit speed limit, another one without too much incident. It's just Nicholas Pressey who really got caught out on this one. And Hamilton Busey retakes the lead of the race, with Craig Forsyth coming behind 13 seconds away from our leader now, over half a lap down from the 7 car.
As we make it to the triple-digit mark, 101 laps now, it's going to be Hamilton Akabwezi ahead by 13 seconds over Craig Forsyth. Little bobble or not, Hamilton's in a great position. From this point onward, it's going to be very tricky to see any circumstance in which we, of course, don't see the number 7 up and ahead. Frankie Wynn gets back on the track. Sophie Cano now fighting with Carmen Sienna. And also going to be Craig Forsyth, but Forsyth is in second. That's just how far back he is relative to Hamilton. He's fighting with the lappers, and he's 13 seconds behind your top driver on the day. 5 remain on the lead lap. Mo Perry having a very good night of his own, had some podium speed early. He's been inside the top 5, and he's made strategy work out nicely for this entire 28 crew. Lilac Zier might face the most pressure from here. Edson Santos, 9/10 of a second away. Maybe he's up next to get things going and perhaps go right by with the number 20 now closing slightly in.
I see a little bit of miscommunication there, it seems, with the lap car of Christina Ryan not wanting to make this easy for Edson Santos here. And we see how much Lilac has struggled a little bit in the dirty air here. The 20 should now be able to clear and go after her with a gap now just 0.5 of a second. And this pack of lap cars ahead seemingly holding Lilac back a little bit, or maybe just saving tyre for now, trying to make things last till the end of the race. Giovanni actually fighting back on the outside. Take that line that exit the corner. Santos will finally clear it, and through all that has closed in on Lilac Zier here.
Yeah, but Christina Ryan not giving up yet. Lilac Zier got herself a little bit of a rear gunner for the last couple of laps there. Christina, whether she intended to or not, just holding Edson Santos off a little bit. But it's not going to be worth much because now Edson Santos is well within a couple of tenths of a second of that last podium position, picking up all that clean air on the low side and carrying plenty of speed on exit. He's putting Lilac-Zier under so much pressure right now.
I'm very confused by Lilac pace here. It's dropped off a little bit from the pit stop, maybe struggling to get the tyres fired up and into the optimal window, but a few tenths off where she was running, maybe even on the old tyres, and that is putting her under immense pressure from this 20 car. But she might be starting to get a feel for it again, and with under 20 laps to go, if she can pull a bit of a gap here, it's going to be hard for Santos to follow with that fight that's happened. No, no! Lilac-Zier exit stage left again, manages to hold on to the car, but that will drop her off the podium. And Edson Santos not having to make the move on the track. The 89 falling to 4th and now under a bit of pressure from Mo Perry. And it's once again turn 2 that's the issue.
I believe in the business we call that one a mind punt.
Maybe Mo Perry now has a chance to get that 4th spot here.
Yeah, Mo Perry carrying plenty of momentum. Lilac-Zier's rear tire is going to be suffering after that one. But she's wasting absolutely no time getting back on the pace. And now fighting for 4th place. Mo Perry 4 tenths back, taking advantage of all of that slipstream through the tri-oval, and perhaps trying to mount a little bit of a charge for that top 4 position.
And let's not take our eyes off Edson Santos here. Has got onto the podium, but it's just 2.4 off the back of Craig Forsyth, and now with a little bit of clean air, though still with some lappers to go, maybe he's looking at a late charge towards that 2nd position.
We did see a bit of late race drama for Edson Santos last week, making a rare mistake to drop him from the lead of the race. He only finished P7, and he's going to be looking for a little bit of redemption here at Kansas Speedway if he can. The gap between him and the lead, though, is 16 seconds. The only way I think that's going to come down is if we get a late race caution here with less than 10 to go.
The final stretch is here. As it stands, a baker's dozen, lap 112 for Hamilton Akabuezi. Everyone else is a few seconds off, and they're still on lap 111. The closest battle remains now Mo Perry and Lilac-Zier. Everyone else, for the most part, is separate from one another, and it looks like Mo Perry may be the final driver with a chance to really hone in and get one additional pass. It looks like right now, maybe he's got a little bit more pace in him, but Lilac-Zier picking up nicely again, and should get to go and perhaps hold on to 4th without any major flaws from here. 6 drivers on the lead lap, Alex Miller the last of which, and Hamilton is coming up slowly but surely. However, that time by, it looked like it was Alex Miller quicker with a younger set of rubber. So maybe Hamilton done with putting drivers laps down now. It's all going to be about making it to the end. 11 remaining, and now the priority is just getting home in one piece.
Oh, Carmen Sienna with a big hit to the wall on the exit of 2, and that was right ahead of Edson Santos, who does manage to clear without issue. Carmen Sienna now, I think, losing the spot to Sophie Connell, or losing the battle here. I'm just going to try and limp it home to the finish. Francie Ware on the outside is a further lap down, so it's not a spot for position. Carmen will let that go without too much issue, but there's still plenty of time for some late issues for these drivers, and especially as these tyres are going to wear, as the temperature continues to climb. We still have to keep an eye out, and these drivers have to be on their A game.
It has been such a tricky race for the grid here at Kansas Speedway tonight. High track temps, lots of dirty air, a turn 2 wall that wants to kill you. It takes a mental drain on every single one of the drivers on the grid tonight. But saying that, one of the guys that's dealt with it really well tonight, Hamilton Akabuezi. Car number 7, 14 seconds clear of the entire field. We've talked about it before, how such a big part of the game, I've just lost the game, is to keep your head during these races and stay consistent and not let anything get to you. And Hamilton Akabuzi has managed that perfectly. A little bit of a rare error from him. The back end of the car coming around on him on the exit of 2, as has happened to a lot of drivers tonight. But he didn't let it phase him. He took a beat, backed the pace down a little bit, got back in the zone, and then started pushing again once he was comfortable. And it was a brilliant bit of driving, just to make sure he, you know, a good bit of mental management to make sure he stayed cool, stayed calm, and got straight back on it.
Why is this attempt at a commentator's curse, Taylor?
We've acknowledged the commentator's curse, which means the commentator's curse won't happen.
You're the one putting the risk on that, not me. We did have a bit of lawn mowing from Nicholas Pressey. Now the second time he's gotten a bit loose coming out of 4 and taking a trip through the infield grass. Gets it gathered back up without issue, without losing a spot. But we're still seeing these I think just the rear end is very loose here today. The tyre's getting very burnt up, and there's still plenty of time for issues, as Lilac Zero is now stuck in a bit of a 3-car battle. But Commentator tagging the wall is going to interrupt that. Mo Perry is now making a move on the 96 car, but Alex Miller's not far behind, and he might want to try and sneak into top 5 here.
Yeah, Mo Perry just managing to bookmark Commentator between themselves and Alex Miller. Alex Miller, who's ran really, really well tonight, trying to extend the strategy a little bit for a late race safety car, swinging it right around the outside of Carmen Sienna in the dirty air and carrying that momentum all the way down the back straight. Right on the tail of Mo Perry, who's struggling on that middle line. Alex Miller making a move around the outside like he did a week ago, and making it work and making it stick, using all of the slipstream from the lapper of Christina Ryan to take that P5 from the number 28 car with only 2 laps to go. Wow.
Big pass there, the final battle on the lead lap, and Hamilton Akabuzi, the man to watch now, as he's coming across. Popsicles this time by, and now it's going to be 1 lap to go. White flag is out. How about this for the number 7 crew? Overall, they've already led over 100 laps on the day, and there's been no real competition all throughout. Cautions, a tricky turn 2, and everything in between. Now rolling for 1 more half lap with a 15-second advantage, all built up under green. Through 3 and 4 this time by, the most dominant driver on the intermediate circuits comes back to victory lane. Hamilton Akabuzi wins in Kansas and conquers the Tornado Alley with 106 laps led.
And now Craig Forsyth crosses the line for P2. That is the gap that the 7 pulled. Edson Santos rounds out the podium. Lilac Zare comes home P4. And Alex Miller, with that late move to get around Mo Perry, will finish in the top 5. Mo Perry, your final lead lap car, in 6th position.
I think Alex Miller's move there with a couple of laps to go is going to easily be my move of the race.
It was brave. It was, I mean, it was on the top line. Of course you loved it. But Alonso Natibusi back at the start-finish line and ready to celebrate his second win of the season from his 3rd pole position. And what a win it was. Dominant from green to checker from the number 7 car on Team I5G.
Looks like no burnout there for your race winner, but definitely a night to celebrate. Here's a look at your overall results after this one here in Kansas. Hamilton Akabwezi is going to win from Craig Forsyth then in second, and it's going to be third position occupied by Edson Santos. Then he's going to find himself position number 3. Lilac Zier is going to be in fourth. It'll be Alex Miller then in fifth, and Mo Perry is going to be sixth with Martin Roberg seventh, Bruce Silva eighth, Sophie Cano ninth, and Carmen Sienna position number 10, rounding out the top 10 starting in 16th.
That McBride, Nicholas Pressey, Frankie Wynn, and Christina Ryan all finishing 2 laps down. And our final finishes of the race, the rest of the field getting caught out by that turn 2 wall throughout our 124 laps. Emily Howe with a big shot in the championship there. Parker Alexander behind. Lily Pelletier Sharp, Pacey Wygant, Brandon Cruz, I believe, bringing out our only caution of the race, finishing P19, and Alex Martin and Bobby Blowers, our other 2 DNFs from tonight's race at Kansas. But what a result that was for the number 7, and really everyone who managed to bring that car home in one piece.
Yeah, Kansas Speedway proven to be a tricky mistress there tonight. As we said, a combination of the high track temps, the dirty air, just not really working so well with these cars. It helped string the field out a little bit and put a few of the guys in that outside wall at turn 2, ending a lot of races. But that's the thing. If you want to be successful in Champ Car, you've got to be successful at all these different types of racetracks, whether that's one of these really fast 1.5 mile ovals, one of the super speedways, or even a road or street course.
Now time to get a word from all of our drivers here. Let's see who's standing by. Currently, looks like we've only got our race winner in Hamilton Akabwezi with us, so why not this time by? We start with our race winner and go from the top side down. Dominance tonight with 106 laps led. The number 7 machine did it all and then some, and it's a victory. Particular dominance here in Tornado Alley. Hamilton, thank you for stopping by. What a race that was with all but 19 laps led today.
Yeah, that was one of the more interesting cars I've ever driven, that's for sure. But I mean, you really had to tire save a lot here in that. I mean, I also made a ton of time on the pit stops, so that made the real difference. Like Cray was talking about, he just struggled with saving the tires. I don't know if y'all saw my almost wreck on lap 85, but that was really close to being really bad. I was very lucky to not wreck there, but yeah, just kind of chilling, tire saving. Yeah, thought about dropping to the back on the caution, but didn't want to do too much, you know. So. Decent race.
And overall, everything working out besides that one little slip up, which we did see cost you a few seconds, but overall the lead was pretty well established otherwise here. With that being said, pit strategy was a long green flag race overall. That's really what was the defining factor tonight, building what was a 9-second gap out of our first green cycle, and from there, smooth sailing. That seemed to be the way it went for you, so what was it like having to deal with pit road as the pretty much essential part of the day?
Oof, I came in, I didn't do a ton of practice, but I've driven this track before, and I think I was just a bit more confident, braking later than some other guys, and so the strategy was pretty straightforward after the caution. So you just had to take almost a full tank both times with the reduced fuel, so made it pretty simple. But yeah, just sending it as much as I'm comfortable with into pit road gained me a lot of ground.
Tonight, everything works out for a win in Tornado Alley. Third pole position on the season and the second victory. One thing to note with the rest of the race, of course, here, the rest of the season coming up, Milwaukee Mile. That's up next. Going to be a completely different style of oval. What's it going to take from here on out? Of course, much different approach, but maybe a chance to keep the success of these left turning circuits.
Oh yeah, I love Milwaukee so much, but I might try some different stuff. Maybe start at the back, see what we can do. Milwaukee, it'd be very hard to do anything, but I'll still try it, I guess. Why not? Um, but yeah, like Milwaukee, love that track. Phoenix should be fun. And then I think those are the last two before the 500. So yeah, fun tracks for sure. Looking forward to it. I should be there. I'm not. I'm probably will.
And approaching our final races of the campaign, looks like this time around a final chance of the intermediates, and you get it done here with 106 laps led, Hamilton. Any final shout-outs you'd like to give?
Shout out I5G, Brendan Hyperstar on Twitch. Yeah, that's all I've got. Thank you guys.
There we have it. That is your race winner, Hamilton Akabuezi. We thank him for his time, and right now, our third place finisher, Edson Santos, don't have a word yet from Craig Forsyth, but it looks like he's in the general chat room, so maybe we can get our second place finisher up next as Forsyth looks to be ready and waiting. And we'll drag him in this time by, and we'll be standing by with your second place finisher, Craig Forsyth, coming right up.
Craig Forsyth, welcome back to the ABN booth once again, and congratulations again on another second place finish.
Second place is I'll take it. It's acceptable. Absolutely acceptable.
Yeah, not really too much to say about your race tonight. You started third, gained a position off the start, nailed your strategy, almost had a bit of a fight with who you finished second place to last week, Emily Howe, in the middle there. But you managed to keep it clean. Like, is there any much more to say about that one?
No, I mean we had nothing for Hamilton. I was keeping up with him good in the first stint just because I was able to stay in his draft. But I know I'm hard on the tires, and he is not. So once my tires started to go, he drifted off and laughingly drove away from me. And then I just became dog slow the last 10 laps of every stint, just because I'm bad on the tires here. So it was protecting the position from Emily. And then I saw in the review that, she touched the wall and spun to so many people touched the wall out of two and spun to the inside. That was crazy. I mean, it's the most common thing to do here, but I didn't realize. And then, at the end of the race there, Edson was just running me down. And had 3 or 4 more laps, he would have had me because I had nothing left in the car. The tires were done.
Yeah, it was really interesting to see just how much the turn 2 wall was biting tonight. Would you say that was key to bringing it home? Was just making sure you weren't in that barrier, and what was making it so difficult to stay out of it?
It was. I mean, the setup is already loose and it's high on the nose, so there's not a lot of a front downforce. But the back end wants to kick out on you, and 2 is just it's in how it's shaped. It's easy to slide up into that wall trying to save basically you're trying to save the car from sliding on you, which gets the person up into the wall, and then they go off off to the inside wall, of course. But it's the easiest thing I tell people is like it's counterintuitive that you actually have to open the car up. You have to turn the wheel open to the outside wall to keep from hitting the outside wall. It feels really strange to do, but it's how you keep that wiggle from happening, and it's the wiggle that takes you up to the wall. So if you can master that, you usually will have a clean race without hitting that thing.
It seems like you did master it tonight. We've got the Milwaukee Mile coming up next. Are we confident going into that one as well, or?
No, I am not good at any of the flat tracks, so I will try my best and try but I think we'll try our best. It's not one of our better circuits.
Well, congratulations once again on another P2. This is becoming, as I said last week, a bit of a habit, but floor's yours if you want to get some thanks in there and shout out some of your pals.
No, I got to thank the whole 4D Racewear crew, sponsor for the car, and the team put on a. We like to put it on the podium for them, so that was good. And the whole ABN crew for inviting us in here. We've had a fun spring, that's for sure, and looking forward to the next couple of races before the end of the season.
Cheers, Craig. Always a pleasure. Enjoy the rest of your night.
Stay safe.
That was the voice of Craig Forsyth, second on the day with 7 laps led, and our final driver on the podium coming right through, Edson Santos and the number 20.
Hey Edson, this is Olivia in the ABN booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I'm here.
Well, I think chaos is the word to use to describe that race. A very, very tricky set of conditions about that one, especially on the edge of turn 2 there. But you made the most of it, up 8 positions to take home your second podium of the season. Talk us through that race. How do you make it happen?
Well, good night, guys. Good night, everyone who's watching. Yeah, the race was pretty. It was a challenge. For me, the car was very year end. Tire wear was strong, you know. Well, the temperature was high in Celsius, something around 50 degrees. So I love this the race like this. Actually, I have back race, and actually it took me a while to get in the hand of the car. It was terrible, horrible first stint. Just trying to survive the first 3-4 laps. Was incredible. Several cars with problems, especially in the exit of the back straightaway. I myself lost the car twice there, and I started to manage the weight checker each corner. It was a challenge for me, for high, low, high. So I took a conservative line in T1 and T2, an aggressive line in turn 3 and turn 4, and I could learn during the race and improved my performance there. Not to win, far from it. It was great today. In the end, maybe I could fight for the P2, but I'm happy. I start from behind. I couldn't train as I wanted the quali. So my 4 laps of qualifying were grabbable, terrible. My start was in 11th, I guess. So raising some positions was very interesting, and so I'm happy for this second podium. And if you let me, I'd like to send a warm hug for each member of the linear racing team, and for you, those who was watching too. Let's go to the next race. Maybe it can be exciting and challenge like this one I have today.
Well, I think, as always, addressing everything we could possibly want to know from the race. Thank you for joining us, and hopefully we'll be able to talk to you again next time out at Milwaukee.
Thank you very much. Hope to be here and more opportunities.
Thank you.
Just like that, we've spoken to all of your top 3 drivers today. Edson Santos third, Craig Forsyth second, and Hamilton Akabwezi, the dominant man. He wins with 106 laps led. What a race that was overall, and now that we're looking at it in the rear view, and up next the Milwaukee Mile, do we have some final thoughts here before we head to Tornado Alley?
Before we leave Tornado Alley, there was a bit of a wind of chaos blowing through the circuit tonight. A lot of guys ended up in the wall on the outside of turn 2. Very few cautions though for the amount of incidents we had, which kind of kept the strategy in one lane for tonight. We always like a bit of strategy variation, but we are going to get races like that every now and again. But very different style of circuit coming up next time, Milwaukee Mile. Very flat oval, similar to what we've seen at New Hampshire. So it's going to be the guys that excelled there that I think are going to excel again. So Austin Farr, Hamilton Akabwezi having a fantastic fight there last time, and I'm very much looking forward to a repeat.
Yeah, I think the way I describe Milwaukee to people who have been watching this season is that it's a lot like New Hampshire, but with a much more treacherous pit entry. You have to dive in right off of turn 4 to hit a cut out in the wall to get onto pit road. So we'll see how people master that. And what I'd like to say is congratulations, Taylor, for making it through an entire broadcast in Kansas without mentioning the NFL.
You know, funnily enough, I made a jab about how I was going to bring up a stadium and its distance to this track. What I was actually going to say was Kansas Speedway is 20 minutes away from CPKC Stadium, home of the women's soccer team KC Current, and it's the first stadium of its kind.
Well, we're up to the land of cheese and the Green Bay Packers next week. I cannot wait to see you there. David, take it away.
Well, you're right about that. The Milwaukee Mile. We're off to a stretch of tracks that are about a mile in length here, and Milwaukee will be the first of which. A track we don't often get the chance to visit, but it's going to be exciting nevertheless. We thank y'all for watching tonight in the Kansas 300 kilometer here from the virtual Kansas Speedway. If you enjoy the ABN Champ Car action tonight, make sure to leave a follow on the ABN Esports Twitch channel and check out all of our other respective social media pages. They're on your screen right now. If you want to tune in and watch the rest of our action this week, make sure to leave a follow, hit that notification bell. The video on demand for this event will be available in just about a day. We thank you all for watching this presentation of the Champ Car World Series. I'm David Kreutz, joined today alongside Olivia Hayward and Taylor Mills, and we hope to have you with us once more when we return to racing next Wednesday night at the Milwaukee Mile. Thank you all for tuning in here in Kansas, and we hope you have a fantastic night.
Thank you.